I'm going to show you how to make a refrigerator magnet. First thing you need to do is go up to SketchUp. You should find the icon on your desktop. You double click on it and it'll load the program. You want to choose a template. The template you should choose is 3D printing inches. Once you've chosen that, you hit start using SketchUp. And if you see a message, just ignore that or it'll disappear in a few seconds. If you see this MakerBot replicator mock-up here, just click on that and delete that because that'll confuse the 3D printer. You don't want that on there. I like to orient my drawing in a certain way. You may have your own preference. You go over here to, first thing we have to do is draw a rectangle for the base or the holder of the magnet, the refrigerator magnet. So we go to rectangle, and this is going to be 1,5, 1 inches by 5 inches. If you look in the lower right corner, you'll see the 1,5. That's where you input any data. Click on that, and that's my 1 by 5 inch rectangle. Now we need to give some depth to it, or we need to make it three-dimensional. So what I'm going to do is come over here to the menu bar. I'm going to go to the push-pull tool. Click on that, and you want to pull it up. It should be 1/16 of an inch and high. So if that's 1/16 right there, if you look in the lower right corner, you can see that. Hit return or enter, and that'll add depth. We're going to put a border on it. We go over here to the offset tool, click on that, and we bring that in 0.117. Enter that in the keyboard, and then hit enter, and that gives us our border. We want to add some depth to that or raise it up, so we come over back to the push-pull tool, click on that, and you lift that up 0.25 inches, and there's our holder. We're going to put a name or a refrigerator magnet inside there. So we need to make a new rectangle. We come over here, type in rectangle, and this one is going to be a little bit smaller, 0.75, comma, 4.75. Hit return, and there's our where we're going to put our name on there. So we go to push-pull tool because we want to make this from two-dimensional, convert it to two-dimensional, from two-dimensional to three-dimensional. You're going to raise this up 0.1875. If you look in the lower right corner, you can see that. That's 3/16. Hit enter on the keyboard, and there's our depth. So this is going to drop right in there if you've done the dimensions correctly. Now we're going to put our name on there, or you can put whatever you want on there, as long as it's appropriate for school. You come up here for tools, and you go to 3D text, and it's important what text you hit. I like to do Arial Black, is kind of safe, but there's a lot of different text styles. You want to pick one that's thick, like this one right here, or the Berlin. Let's see, there's some others, Britannica. Broadway might be problematic because if you can see there's some areas where it's just a very thin line. So like on the O, that may not come out, so you may not want to use that one. This Cooper Black looks pretty good. I'm going to select that one. And you can type in your name. If you got a long name, you may need to change the settings. With just a few letters, 6, I can keep that the height to 0.6. If you have a long name you want to put on there, you might want to change that to 0.5 so it'll fit on here, right here. So the bottom number is always the same, 0.094. So we click on this, and make sure before you place it on that nameplate or that refrigerator magnet, it says on face. If it says on face, you click, and now you can zoom out and you grab a hold of that lettering, and you can rotate it. And you should see 90 degrees down here in the corner. So again, in case you missed that, it should say 90 degrees down there in the corner, and you drag this, try to center it, and then I come over here and click on the select tool, and then I'll rotate this and zoom in to make sure it's right on the flush with the face of this solid piece here. So you can see it's right on there, so it looks good. Now the last thing we have to do is put holes or housing for the magnets. The magnets are 1/2 inch in diameter, so we're going to come over here to shapes and find circle. And somewhere on the end here, towards the middle, we're going to type in 0.257. That's the radius. You can see in the lower right corner, it shows you that. Hit enter, and that's a hole there. It's going to be slightly larger than the 0.250 radius of the magnet. One down here, Doesn't matter exactly where they're going to go because they're going to be hidden. Now we need to make a hole in there for the magnet. So we go to the push-pull tool, and let's see, now that's a problem. For some reason that happens whenever I use the push-pull tool at this stage of the game. So I'm just going to hit Control-Z, and that'll get rid of that. So anytime you make a mistake, just hit Control-Z, and that'll correct it. Get you back where you were before the mistake. Now the depth of this hole should be 0.170. So you can see in the lower right corner, hit Return, come over here, do the same thing, 0.170. Now before we save this, it's very important that you do everything in this order, because if you don't, you're going to have problems. When we go to the 3D printer, it'll ask us, it'll tell you that you made a mistake somewhere. And generally that happens when students don't follow this procedure exactly as I've shown. The last thing you have to do is save it. Come up here, Save As. You want to put it in your Download or Documents folder. If you save it, it'll save it as an SKP file, which is not a file that the 3D printer understands. So that's no problem, because I can convert it to translate it to a format that the 3D printer can understand when we get over to the printer. If you want to know how to do that, you come over here to File. If you see an Export STL, STL is the extension that the 3D printer can recognize. So yours should be if you want to do STL, you can do it if you've got Export STL on your file menu here. If you don't have the Export STL, you can put it on there by coming over here to the extension warehouse. And when you click on that, you'll see right up at the top it says SketchUp STL, and this is an extension that will enable you to convert the SKP to STL. And it's a fairly drawn-out process, and you have permission to download this if you want. So you might want to try that. But once you've saved it, you're done, and you can close it up and come over to the 3D printer and we'll print it out.